Hello, once more, and welcome back to the channel, back here on YouTube, doing the first 2024 Big Ten football prediction video for the year, the preseason predictions. Today, I'll give you all 18 teams, tell you where I think they're going to be finish in the regular season after last year, as we bring in UCLA, Oregon, Washington, and USC into the conference with all those 40 teams in the Big Ten, 18 teams. Crazy to see that happening. Today, we'll talk about the teams, all 18 teams, where I think they'll be in the standings in this episode here for the predictions. So let's get into that here and there. Some cool standings today. So let's get started. I had a good record last year with 50 plus correct picks overall. So that's about what I did. That's what happened last year. But with that being said, let's get into today's video right here. Shall we? With the predictions for the Big Ten Conference. Starting out with the team I think that's going to be number one in the Big Ten. Everyone knows because they won the conference, they won the national championship. It's Michigan, of course, right here. The Michigan Wolverines, right here. As Michigan fans know. So as we get into that today, with Michigan, the reason I think this team's going to be number one in the Big Ten, they're going to have a good, easy schedule. They're going to have two games that I think that'll be very tough for this Michigan team this year. As we look at the schedule, by the way, actually 3 games. The first game that's going to be tough for them is Texas in week 2, September 7th, which is a game that's a 12 o'clock game on Fox. That's going to be one of the bigger games for them this year. After that, they have Washington at Washington, a rematch of the championship game last year on October 5th on the road at Washington. And then the last game that I think they're going to have issues with, potentially, is going to be the game in Columbus at Ohio State. Even though they won Big Ten last year and they won the national championship going unbeaten, Washington is going to be the toughest team for them to beat this year, I think. And, of course, it's going to be one of the tougher games. But those are going to be 3 tough games. In Texas, the game at Washington, and the game at Ohio State on November 30th, which is at 12 o'clock, and will sure be on Fox as well. That Washington game, though, at Washington, that's not sure what time that game's going to be at, but that's a road game. But I think that's one of the tougher games as well. So, going with Michigan as the number 1 team in the Big Ten, I think they have a chance to finish 12-0, maybe even 11-1, but we'll see with that, as I think they're going to be the number 1 team. Followed up by the number 2 team. I think the team that will be second in the Big Ten this year, Ohio State and Michigan have been the 2 teams that have been in the Big Ten East that have won the last several Big Ten championships over the last few years. And, of course, Ohio State, their team that's going to be easy to see. They have a pretty easy schedule, it looks like. They have games that should be tough. November 2nd, they're going to be at Penn State, which is going to be a road game. That's going to be a tough game to win. And then also the Michigan game. That's going to be a game they have to prove. After losing 3 straight to Michigan, can they prove that they can win against Michigan finally? Under Ryan Day, their head coach, can they at least break the 3 straight loss, the 3-game losing streak against Michigan? I think this Ohio State team will. And I have to say, this team's either going to be 11-1 or 10-2 at this moment. And that's why I have them right up there with Michigan at the top of the Big Ten as the number 2 team in the Big Ten Conference overall. Which brings in to number 3 team. I have the Washington Huskies, which will be a tough team. You're number 1 in the Big Ten for the Huskies of Washington. The reason I think they're going to be number 3 only is because last year they're coming off a loss against Michigan in the championship, the national title game, in the college football playoff. And, of course, this Washington team, their schedule's tough. They have Michigan October 5th. October 12th, they have to travel to Iowa, which is going to be a tough road game on the road, their first true road test in the Big Ten. And if you ask me, I think Washington has a chance to start 6-0 at this point in time, which I do think that's going to happen. I think they're going to start 6-0 because they have a pretty easy schedule against Weber State, Eastern Washington, Weber State, Eastern Michigan, and Washington State, and then Northwestern, and then at Rutgers, and then Michigan. So they have chances to start 6-0, maybe 5-1 at this moment. but that Iowa game's going to be a true test. Then after it, they have USC. That's going to be another game. Then they have at Oregon as always, which will be the last game of the year for them. I do think Washington, they're going to be a team that's either 11-1, 10-2, possibly 9-3. But there's a reason I think they're number 3 team at the moment, because they have an easy test the first 5-6 games plus. They have an easy test at least the first 7, either 5-2 or 6-1 after the first 7 games of the season. Which brings me to the number 4 team in Big Ten. Penn State. The Nittany Lions of Penn State. This is a team. They want to be a team that's in the top half, and I think they will be in the top half of the Big Ten. And the only thing I think that's going to stop this Penn State team up from playing good is the USC game, the game against Wisconsin, possibly Ohio State. Well, that Washington game's going to be tough, and then also, yeah, that's pretty much all the teams. They have a tough slate, but I think they finish in the top of the Big Ten, in the top 4, and maybe college football playoff team this year. So Penn State's one of those teams I think early on will have a tough, easy schedule. Once you get to that USC game October 12th, that's going to be the toughest test. So I won't be surprised if Penn State's 5-0. That will be 5-0, I think, by the end of the first 5 games of their season. It's the USC game at USC October 12th, October 26th against Wisconsin. Then Ohio State, and then the Washington game at home. Those are going to be the 4 toughest games in all 4 games in a row. Or 2 on the road in a row, then 2 games at home in a row. I think those are going to be the toughest 4 games. So Penn State, I think they finished 9-3, 8-4, but in the top half of the Big Ten with the top 3 teams in Ohio State, Michigan, and Washington in the top 4. So Penn State, put them in number 4 for now. And next up in the Big Ten, I'm going to go with the newest team for the 5th spot, Oregon, the Ducks. Yeah, why do I think Oregon's going to be number five in this conference? Well, their team, they're coming ranked preseason ranking number 3 in the coaches poll and the AP poll at the moment. They have a pretty good schedule to start. Their first matchup, which is tough, is that game against Ohio State October 12th, which is a home game. Which yesterday was announced that NBC is going to be doing that game on a Saturday night, October 12th at 4:30 p.m. in Eugene, Oregon. Oh, that's going to be the first tough test they have. They have a chance as well, another chance for another team to start the season 5-0 in the Big Ten. And Oregon, don't doubt me about that. The Ohio State game's going to be tough. At Michigan, November 2nd, that's going to be another tough matchup. They also travel to Wisconsin, which is a tough matchup. And then they finish the year with Washington. I see this Oregon team finishing at 8-4, 9-3, or 8-4. And that's why I think they're number 5 in the conference in the Big Ten this year to start out this season. So give me Oregon as that number 5 team in the Big Ten for the season. Next up, I'm going to take it a little off track here to my favorite team, the Iowa Hawkeyes, number 6 in the conference where I'm predicting them here today as number 6 team. On the outside, they're at the bottom end of the top 25, number 25 overall. The coaches poll AP ranking the top 25 as well. Outside that, they're going to be missing their head coach Kirk Ferentz and their one of their coaches for the first game of the year for suspension for recruiting violations. And looking at this Iowa schedule, their schedule looks pretty easy, as always. There's games that are tough. They have the game against Minnesota on the road on September 21st. That's going to be their first true test. They have 3 straight games at home where they should be able to win all 3. The Iowa State game is going to be the toughest one, which I think will be the toughest one and lowest scoring game in Iowa City. And then the game against Minnesota, September 21st at Minnesota, after losing last year with the controversial play that was not a fair catch. So there's that. October 5th against Ohio State. Washington, the 3 straight games, September 21st, October 5th, and October 12th against Minnesota, Ohio State, and Washington. Those are going to be the 3 toughest tests right there. Right there for the Hawkeyes. And then after that, their schedule at UCLA is tough, and then Nebraska, that's going to be a tough game as well. So many tough games for Iowa this year. This team, I think, is going to finish at about 8-4, 7-5. Why do I think a team like this finishing 8-4, 7-5 is number 6 in the conference? Well, easy to talk about it. It's so hard to predict. You never know what's going to happen with the Big Ten this year. And a team like Iowa that can finish 8-4, I think this team's going to finish in the top half, number 6 team. So put the Iowa Hawkeyes at number 6. As we move on to the number 7 seed, number 7 team in the conference, and I think is going to be in the Big Ten. Newest member, USC Trojans, at number 7. This one's going to be way tough to predict the Big Ten this year. The newest member of the Big Ten, as you can see. And USC is coming into the season ranked 23rd overall to start the year. They're going to start the year off with a tough game against LSU on September 1st, which is going to be a tough game in Las Vegas. A neutral site game against LSU. That's going to be the first tough test after that. And they have Michigan September 21st, third game of the year. Then after that, it's a really tough year. They have a lot of good teams they play. They have at Washington, of course, and at UCLA. And they also have Notre Dame, of course. This USC team, I think, is going to be a team that finishes 8-4, 7-5. That's the reason I think they're going to have a tough slate. But 8-4, 7-5 keeps them within the top 10 teams in the Big Ten. So putting USC down there, 8-4, 7-5, 8-4 or 7-5, number 7 of the Big Ten Conference in 2024. Brings up our next team, of course. Who do we have here? Who do I have here? Now, that's the tough question. Toughest question. Wisconsin is where I think Wisconsin's the next team up there in the Big Ten. Their second-year head coach, Luke Fickell, after a tough year last year. Wisconsin, they have an easy schedule to start. They start the year with Western Michigan next week on Friday night. Then they have South Dakota. They have Alabama September 14th, which is the toughest test of Wisconsin season. That Alabama game is going to be a game where, it's going to be tested. They're going to be tested out of the gates with this game. Whatever happens in this matchup, that's going to be a tough matchup. Playing Alabama at home and in a day game at 11 a.m. should be easy to win at home against Alabama. Last time Wisconsin played an SEC team in the state of Wisconsin was, I think, a few years back. They played LSU in Green Bay and won that game against LSU to start the season. Against Alabama at home, I think that's a good chance for them to win. After that, they have to travel to USC, which is another tough game. That Northwestern game, October 19th at Northwestern, that's going to be a tough game. Wisconsin always has issues with Northwestern playing on their own. At Iowa, November 2nd, that's going to be another tough matchup. After that, they have the Minnesota and possibly Oregon might also give them some issues. But Wisconsin, they're going to be a team, I think, finishes 8-4, 7-5 as well in the Big Ten, and finished the top 8 teams in the Big Ten. So give Wisconsin a win here at 8-4 or 7-5 right behind USC, which is going to follow up. Yeah, we're going to have to follow this one up. I'm going to go with the newest member of the Big Ten, the UCLA Bruins, for the number 9 spot. Halfway done with the predictions. Sorry about the long video today. UCLA, the number 9 spot in the Big Ten. As we look at their schedule, the reason I think UCLA finishes 9th in the Big Ten, they have a game. They have LSU on September 21st. They also have at Penn State, which is another tough game. They have Iowa at home in a night game, and at Washington in a night game as well. Then they have USC, who's a tough game as well. This is going to be a UCLA team. I think this will be tough to win for them. I think they finish 7-5, 6-6, but I think realistically UCLA is on the verge of finishing 7-5. So I put them 7-5. That's why they're going to be number 9 in the Big Ten Conference in 2024. Moving on to the 10th team of the Big Ten. Spoiler alert here if you're a Maryland fan. Maryland, you're in. If you're a Maryland fan, this is your team here. This is the matchup. And looking at their schedule, first 2 games of the year, the second game of the year, at Michigan State coming in for the second game of the year. And September 7th, that's the first true Big Ten game they have to play. At Virginia, that's going to be a tough game. After that, you have a lot of schedule. USC is going to be a tough game, I think. But I think at Minnesota, at Oregon, there's going to be tough games. At Iowa, that's going to be a tough home game. And then at Penn State to finish the year out, that's going to be a tough game as well. This team finishes 7-5, 6-6. I really realistically think Maryland finishes 7-5 at most. So I'm putting Maryland at 7-5 to finish the year out to have their season. So there you have it. Maryland's going to finish 7-5 for me. Next up, we have to move on. Minnesota Golden Gophers. We've waited long enough on these guys here in the Big Ten. I'll wear 11th team in after this. We have multiple teams out. Minnesota, this is a team I think is going to have a tough season. Look at their schedules. You'll see for Minnesota, they start the year with North Carolina next Thursday, which is a tough game. Next Thursday, it's going to be tough for them to win, I think. But I think realistically they can get a win. After that, September 21st against Iowa, that's another game. You circle. At Michigan, UC and UCLA back-to-back. Maryland, that can be tough too. After that, Penn State, and then at Wisconsin, that's going to be another matchup for Minnesota. Realistically, Minnesota, I believe, is on the verge of being 7-5. Realistically, I think they're going to be 6-6 at this moment. We'll see where that happens. But 7-5, 6-6, 6-6 realistically is where I think Minnesota is going to finish 2024. So put the Gophers at 6-6 as a number 11 team in the Big Ten right now. Next up, we have next team. Don't know, Northwestern Wildcats of the Big Ten. You heard it here first. Northwestern finally, your team's back in it after winning a bowl game last year. This Northwestern team is going to be a team that's going to fight in the Big Ten Conference, unfortunately. It's going to be a little tough for them, I think, to get a bowl game this year in Northwestern. So we'll see what happens with the Big Ten and the bowl games this year overall as we get into the Big Ten, to the slate of Big Ten teams. There's so many of them to talk about this year. 18 of them. But looking at the Northwestern schedule, they have Duke. Their second game of the year is September 6th in Evanston. They also have at Washington. They have at Maryland, Wisconsin. They have at Iowa, at Purdue, Ohio State, at Michigan, and then an Illinois team that's also in the Big Ten. You know, so many teams in the Big Ten this year that aren't going to have a chance. Northwestern should be 6-6 at least, 500, maybe 7-5. We'll see what happens with them. Pretty tough schedule though. They have two games at Wrigley Field, one against Ohio State and then one against Illinois. And Northwestern, I think, realistically, 6-6 at this moment is where I think they are, because you have Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, and Wisconsin, and Maryland, and then also Washington on the road, and then Duke, non-conference. It's going to be tough. So under Northwestern, I can see why. Fans, I'm sorry about how bad I'm going to put you at the bottom. Near the bottom of the Big Ten, at least, for now. That brings us to our next team, Nebraska. Yeah, Nebraska fans, your team's going to be interesting to see this year. Should be interesting to watch. You have schedule, you have Colorado first, a true test at home, September 7th. You have at Purdue, Purdue's been a tough opponent for you every year. You have at Ohio State, you have UCLA and at USC back-to-back, multiple weeks in a row. But you have a bye week slotted in after the UCLA game before the USC game on the road. You also have Wisconsin, then you have Iowa. This Nebraska team, to me, though, listen to them, they'll probably finish the last half of the season losing 4 out of 5, or maybe losing all 5 games they listed. And then they should be able to win. Might be able to win Colorado, might be able to win at Purdue. But Nebraska, realistically, 6-6 at the moment. We'll definitely see what happens with them. But overall, Nebraska, tough to put them in one spot. Easy to put them in one spot. 6-6 for my prediction. Meanwhile, we're going to move on. Purdue, the Boilermakers. It's another tough game. Big Ten, first-year head coach, or second-year head coach, I mean. Their schedule looks pretty easily. Notre Dame, that's going to be the toughest game, September 14th at home. Then they also have to travel to Oregon State in true tough test. They have to travel to Oregon State to play the Oregon State Beavers at Nebraska, at Wisconsin. They have Oregon tough. Northwestern's going to be tough. At Ohio State, that's going to be a tough one. Penn State's going to be tough. Michigan State, that might be an easy test, but Indiana's going to be the last true test. This Purdue team could be a team that's 6-6, 5-7, realistically. Are they going to be a bowl team? Probably not. So yeah, 6-6 for now for Purdue fans. Sorry about that. Hopefully, I'll be better off when I predict another game. We'll see. Meanwhile, next up, we have to go to Illinois for this next one. Illinois fans, you're next. You're the bottom half. Bottom four, where now we get to the bottom feeders in the Big Ten schedule. The last of the 18 teams. In Illinois, I'm looking at this team like, okay, this team had a good year a few years ago. This year you have a game against Kansas. Start the year, the September 7th is the night game. You have at Nebraska, at Penn State, September 20th and September 28th. Then you have a bye week before you play Purdue on the road. That Michigan game's going to be tough. At Oregon, that's going to be another tough one. Minnesota, that's going to be tough as well. That Michigan State game, it's going to be interesting. At Northwestern at Wrigley Field, that's going to be a game, I think, realistically. Illinois, you might have a chance to finish that season out. Finish 5-5, 7-7, or 6-6. But realistically, at the bottom of the Big Ten, maybe not with a bowl game this year. We'll have to wait and see with that. At the bottom of the Big Ten. Moving on to Michigan State. The 16th team out of the 18 teams I would predict. Sorry about how long this video is going to be. We'll be done here shortly after 2 more teams. This Michigan State team, yeah, like I said, at Maryland, it's going to be a tough game. Maryland has to host Michigan State. Michigan State's going to be having a tough year. At Boston College, that's going to be one of the toughest non-conference games of the year for Michigan State. After that, at Ohio State, then at Oregon, the night game. Iowa coming in for homecoming. That's going to be another tough game. At Michigan. Then after that, they have a lot interesting schedule. Could Michigan State be a sleeper team in the Big Ten? Yes, I think there's a chance Michigan State's a team that's a sleeper team in the Big Ten for a pick that, even though I'm putting them near the bottom, they might end up in the middle of the pack. It's just going to be hard to tell the Big Ten this year. But Michigan State, I'd say this team at 5-7, 4-8, maybe they get wins, finish 6-6. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But Michigan State at the bottom of the Big Ten here this week for me. Lastly but not least, second to last, I guess, the Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana Hoosiers, second to last, number 17 in the Big Ten. 17, as we get into it, second to last team. Yeah, they have a tough schedule, pretty tough. You have non-conference, you should be 3-0 non-conference. You have at UCLA, that should be in the September 14th, that's going to be a tough game. After that, the Big Ten slate looks pretty tough. You have Washington, at Michigan State, you have Michigan, you have at Ohio State. Also Purdue. Indiana, they look like a team. They're going to have a solid sleeping. They're going to have an issue with offense this year. I think they might be a team that finishes 4-8, maybe 5-7. But we'll have to see what happens. It's too early to tell. Like Michigan State, it's too early to tell with anything that happens. But Indiana, sorry about how bad your team I think will be this year. I think finish 5-7, 4-8 at most. And then last but not least, yeah, we got to do this. Rutgers fans, if you're a Rutgers fan, you waited a whole while for the last 2 minutes, 25th minute of the 24th, 25th minute of the video here today. About how long this video is, very sorry. But as you're going to do, Rutgers, you have a tough schedule. You have at Virginia Tech September 21st, which is another tough game. And then you also have Washington, at Nebraska, Wisconsin, UCLA, at USC, Minnesota, at Maryland, Illinois, and at Michigan State. Yeah, Rutgers, I'm very sorry. This team at Rutgers is going to be a pretty bad team, unfortunately, I think. Maybe a team that finishes 4-8, 3-9. We'll have to wait and see what happens this year with the Big Ten with Rutgers, how they finish off the year. So, there you have it. Only 18 teams in the Big Ten have been predicted by me. As we get into it, you can see there, started with Michigan all the way over to finish off with Rutgers. There you have it. If you liked the video, I hope you all liked it. Don't forget, next Wednesday will be coming up. Next Wednesday, I'll have the Week 1 predictions for the Big Ten. Next Wednesday with the season starting on Thursday night. Hope you can join me then. If you did like today's video, please remember to watch, like, subscribe, and don't forget to tell friends as well to do the same if they haven't done so yet already. Also, don't forget to hit that notification button below so you know when I upload a new video. With that being said, I'm going to say, stay safe and peace out. Thanks for watching the preseason Big Ten predictions. I'll be back next Wednesday, Week 1, next Wednesday. Bye for now. Stay safe and peace out, everyone. Thanks for watching. See ya.